What up, though, everybody, and welcome to Lions Nation Unite. I am Spencer Raxter, and this is the platform that Herman created to kind of bring all different Lions content creators from all different walks of life together to make great content, provide some great stuff for the Lions fans out there, and just have a good time. So make sure you smash that like button, smash that like button, subscribe, and follow Lions Nation Unite on all different social media platforms, whether it be Instagram, X, Facebook, anywhere that you want to get some Lions information. Follow Lions Nation Unite. But we all know why I'm here. We all know why everybody's waiting until Thursday because the NFL draft is 1 day away. And Brad Holmes, some people think he has a lot of work to do. I honestly don't think he has too many glaring needs on this team. I think Lions fans really think that the Lions team they saw against the Washington Commanders is who this team is, but it just isn't. That was a team with 20 players on injured reserve. So that is not the team that they have in Allen Park or that occupies Ford Field. It's obviously an extremely talented roster. And even with the decimate or all of the injuries that decimated it, it still won 15 games. But I just look at this team and I know there is a couple 14 games, excuse me. There are a couple positions of need in my mind, and both of them are on the defensive line. I look at edge rusher and I look at defensive tackle, and I know I've talked multiple times on this platform about the needs there, and not just the needs in the short term when you're talking about next year and chasing a Super Bowl and wanting impact players on those positions, but the needs in the long term and not having a guy at that nose tackle spot next year because Roy Lopez is on a 1 year deal. DJ Reader is on the last year of his deal. And Broderick Martin, you don't really know what to expect from. And then that edge position opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, you've got Josh Pascal on the last year of his contract, Marcus Davenport on a 1 year deal, and Al Quadin Muhammad on a 1 year deal. So you don't have anybody there for the long term either. I think there are a couple players in this draft that Brad Holmes is going to target, a couple players in this draft that Brad Holmes has talked to, and a couple players in this draft that fit the pizzazz of what Brad Holmes has done throughout his tenure as a Detroit Lions GM, where it's not the guy that you think it's going to be. It's not going to be the guys that stand out or that, oh, that's the obvious pick. Everybody mocked him that pick. Obviously, he was going to go there. No, I think a couple of these picks are going to be Brad Holmes-esque, whether it be like the Jahmyr Gibbs pick that nobody saw coming or the Jack Campbell pick that nobody saw coming. And at 28, I think there's a guy that really fits that mold, and it's a guy that they've talked to and a guy that they like. And that guy is Tyleik Williams, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. He's a 3 tech, but he's big enough to play that nose tackle spot as well at 6'3, 334 pounds. They like his athleticism. He ran a 4.6 40 and had a 1.6 10-yard split at 6'3", 340 pounds. This guy is a load. This guy is an absolute menace up the middle. He is a run stopper. He is a run stuffer. He gives shades of Devontae Wyatt. He is just a big monster in the middle of that defense over his tenure at Ohio State. He had, let's see, just so I get it right here, 137 tackles, 27 tackles for loss, and 11 and a half sacks. So this is not just a guy who can stop the run and fill the hole. This is also a guy that can get to the quarterback. I think Brad Holmes likes Tyleik Williams, and I think if the options are looking a little slim there at 28, or when you get to 28, a lot of those guys, the Shamar Stewarts and the Michael Williams and those kind of guys are off the board. I think Tyleik Williams is a player that Brad Holmes would reach on, or the kind of guy that Brad Holmes would target and go after at 28 because the experts don't think it's a good pick or the experts think you reached on him. But Brad sees an absolute monster of a human being. Brad sees a guy that can fill a spot on this team and can move around. He could play 3 tech, he could play nose tackle, you can move him around at both spots of that interior defensive line, and they like him. I think this is a guy that they would easily draft at 28 if he is still there. And I think he's going to be still there. And like I said, that might seem like a reach right now, but we've seen Brad Holmes do things like this before. And that goes to the next pick at 60. And at 60, I think it's more obvious. And I think we're going to get, some more positive reviews on this one from the local fans. But Josiah Stewart is a Brad Holmes love. He has met with him, he has spoken with him, he has interviewed him in every way you possibly can with a prospect leading up to the draft, the pre-draft visit, the pro day, the local pro day, the top 30 visit. He had Josiah Stewart's name on every single one of those lists, and he talked to him every single opportunity he could. I would be extremely surprised if the Detroit Lions left the draft without grabbing Josiah Stewart. This is a guy that they love. This is a guy, talk about versatility. He could play edge, he could play Sam, he could play inside if you want at linebacker, obviously, not defensive line. But he has great coverage skills. He's very instinctual in the run game, and obviously he is adept at getting to the passer. He shows up in big games. He has proven it at every level of ball that he's played that he belongs and that he is going to succeed and thrive, whether it was the lower competition that he was playing in his early collegiate career or when he was at Michigan playing the best of the best and winning a national championship. I think Josiah Stewart is a player that this regime loves. Josiah Stewart is a player that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell love because they have met with him a lot. And I think they could take him at 60. And if you look where he's going in mock drafts or where these experts have him on their big board or on their rankings, it's closer to 80. And so maybe that's a reach. Maybe people wouldn't like that. Maybe that's too early for Josiah Stewart, but I don't think it's too early for Brad Holmes to do it. I think unless he moves back, which I'm partial to, and gets more picks there in the second round, I could see if he's just stuck with that second round pick, I could see him taking Josiah Stewart at 60 because this is a guy who I think would immediately be back up to Derek Barnes, if not pushing Derek Barnes for that starting Sam role. He is a very talented player. It seems like Brad is maybe opening up to the idea of putting a speed rusher next to Aiden Hutchinson with some of the interviews he's been having and some of the people that he's been bringing in. It's been somewhat uncharacteristic of what he's known to do or what he likes at that edge position when you're talking about these big 6'6", 6'7", 270, 280-pound defensive linemen. He's also talked with a couple of these guys that are 6'4", 6'5", 250 pounds, and that are kind of a tweener when you look at edge rusher or linebacker. He met with Jihad Campbell. He met with Josiah Stewart. These are guys that he is sitting down with and talking to, and that has not really been the track record of Brad Holmes or Dan Campbell, that who they like at that edge position, like I mentioned before, are the bigger guys. I love it personally. I think we saw the guy have the most success opposite of Aiden Hutchinson being that speed rush guy. I know it was just 1 year in James Houston, but I think if you get a Josiah Stewart, he's got all the pass rush upside of James Houston, but a more complete game and a more well-rounded game that will be able to keep him on the field more. So he's not just a one-trick pony like James Houston is. This is another guy that you can put at that Sam role or that edge spot, and he can bump into coverage. He can play. He can run with a tight end. He can cover a running back in the slot. He's very good in the run game. I think it would be like Josiah Stewart is an elite James Houston in my mind. Like he can get to the passer that well, and he doesn't have to get taken off of the field in certain sets because he makes up for it. He's a very well-rounded player. And you know how much this Lions organization, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, value the versatility of their players. And I think Josiah Stewart is an extremely versatile linebacker. He can be used in a lot of different ways, and that is something that is going to attract Brad Holmes to him. It's something that has attracted Brad Holmes to him. Like I said, they've already met in every conscious way you can with a draft pick. So I would be very surprised if they did not walk out of draft day with Josiah Stewart, and I would not be surprised at all if they took him at 60. Like I said, this might be the hot take one, and that's what this kind of is. This is a Brad Holmes is known for doing some wow things in the draft. These are two things I could see to be wow picks, but very realistic for Brad Holmes, and that would be Tyleik Williams at 28, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. They've met with him. They liked him. He's a freak. He can play three tech. He can play nose tackle. They're weak in there. They have a lot of one-year contracts and expiring deals in that interior defensive line. I could easily see them grabbing Tyleik Williams at 28 if Shamar Stewart or somebody like that isn't there for them. And the other kind of whoa move that I could see Brad Holmes realistically making is taking Josiah Stewart at 60. They like him so much. If they don't believe that he will be there at 102 or whenever that third pick is, they will take him at 60 unless they trade back up. So this was just kind of a fun thing I wanted to do to provide a little bit of context behind it as well, because like I said, would I bet my house on it? Would I bet my car payment on it? Like, no, but Brad Holmes is proven to be unpredictable in the draft, whether it comes to moving up or moving down, and the players that he picks. You cannot put a box on what Brad Holmes is going to do in the NFL draft. We saw it with Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't think anybody predicted that. We saw it with Jack Campbell. That was a big surprise. We've seen him move up. We've seen him move back. We've seen him take players that some people left scratching their heads. So this was a fun little thing I wanted to do, because two players I think that would fit that Brad Holmes wow factor would be Tyleik Williams at 28 and Josiah Stewart at 60. I think Brad Holmes likes both of these guys. They're both very high on his board, and I could see him reaching for those two players and it turning out to be the next Brad Holmes wonder show, the next Brad Holmes home run, because both of these guys are extremely talented. Both of these guys can do a lot of different things for your defense, and they're both at spots that the Detroit Lions could use some help. So if Brad Holmes can't maneuver his way around the draft, he said the phones aren't ringing that much, and he has to stay at 28, Tyleik Williams could be that, oh shit, what? Brad Holmes did that type pick at 28, and Josiah Stewart would be that at 6. That one I'm almost ready to put a lock on. If they don't get another second round pick, they will take Josiah Stewart at 60, because he's not going to last to 102, and they love him. So, like I said, just a fun thing. Appreciate you guys tapping in. Comment below what you think. This is just, I like doing this because Brad Holmes is so unpredictable, and we take ourselves so seriously in this offseason, and we put in all these hours and do all these mock drafts and speculate on he's going to do this and that. He's going to trade you. We don't know what he's going to do. Nobody knows what he's going to do. Like he said, sit back, eat your popcorn, and enjoy the show. Well, the show is tomorrow, and I had fun doing this, trying to get in the mind of Brad Holmes and maybe make some picks that would make some people angry, but I think would both be good picks. And I would be happy if you walked away with these two guys in the first and second round. So shout out to Brad Holmes. Shout out to the Detroit Lions. Shout out all you. Smash that like button. Appreciate you tapping in. I am Spencer Raxter. This is Lions Nation Unite, and we'll see you guys soon. A lot more draft content coming up.